Bills, Dolphins Sunday night, and the AFC East is at stake. Dan Marino, former Dolphins quarterback, and Jim Kelly, former Buffalo Bills quarterback, both Hall of Famers, joining us on the program. Thanks for joining us, guys. When's the first time you guys met?
Jim, do you want to answer that, Jim?
No, go ahead.
We met at Jack Lambert's football camp, and we were both just got in college. I think we were young. We were like freshmen or something like. And it was like, I want to say it was like in Ligonier where the Steelers have their training camp. And yeah, that we met. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, and the thing about that is, of course, both of us growing up being Steeler fans, and when you're invited to be a coach at a Jack Lambert football camp, you jump on it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what both of us did. We got to meet each other, and we've been friends ever since.
Dan, did you get an offer to join the USFL? I know Jim went to the USFL, but was there any thought of you playing, in the USFL?
Wow, that's out of nowhere, Dan. Thank you. Yeah, I got drafted by the LA Express. Now, everybody knows like Steve Young was the one that signed a contract a year later, but I got drafted. I had an opportunity to go to the LA Express. Yes, I did. And they paid Jim a lot of money down there in Houston. They didn't want to pay me.
Jim, how close were you not going to the USFL?
What's that?
No, I was asking Jim how close he was to not going to the USFL.
Well, long story short, you have to remember, Dan was drafted by the Dolphins, or he could go to the LA Express. Back then, I was drafted by the Buffalo Bills, and I was drafted really by the Chicago Blitz. And bottom line is, long story short, we were in the office ready to sign the contract with the Buffalo Bills. And Bruce Allen, who was, I think, the general manager at the time, called the Bills office. And he got the secretary to interrupt our meeting. And he went out, my agent went out and talked to Bruce. And he said, what are they offering you? And my agent told him, he said, oh, no. He said, don't sign that. He said, we'll give him a lot better deal. He can pick any team in the USFL he wants, and we will pay him more money. That's about all I needed to hear, because if you remember, Dan, back then the Buffalo Bills were not very good. I think they went after I signed with Houston, they went back-to-back 2-14 seasons, so that wasn't very good.
How much competition was there between all of you guys who were drafted that year?
I mean, I can answer that. I think that, just the competitiveness of the great players that were in that first round, in that draft, the quarterbacks, there was a lot of, just to compete, especially, inside the AFC East, you're playing the Buffalo Bills, you're playing, against Jim Kelly and those guys and the Jets, and it was Kenny O'Brien and it was just one of those very competitive, and Tony Eason, it was very competitive. And it's just part of it. That's what made it great. That's what made it, so special.
Well, I wonder about this with Elway and Montana and how much competition there was with those guys. And I don't know, Dan, I know you fairly well as far as being a great competitor, and certainly you, Jim, but do you take it personally, like when somebody says, oh, that guy's a better quarterback than you, and you're going to go face that quarterback? Did you take it personally like that, Dan?
No, I felt that, to me, there was a lot of respect involved, and that's the main thing, the respect to Jim, Joe, John, all those guys. But at the same time, you feel like you're going to go in there and you're going to, whip their butt. Like that's what you want to do. You want to do that every day. That's why you're becoming, or you are a great quarterback, or you've been a great quarterback, or whatever the circumstance may be. But that's what it's about. But to me, I always respected those guys for what they did, because I knew what they went through. I knew what I was going through. And I always had respect for what they did as professionals and as friends as time went on in life.
What do you guys think about first ballot Hall of Fame, maybe a different shade of jacket for the Hall of Fame? or maybe a different level for where your bust is? Jim, I'll start with you.
Well, to be honest with you, I grew up in a little small town in East Brady, Pennsylvania, and Dan knows about this. And I personally, just like all little boys growing up in Pittsburgh or Buffalo or whatever, you have your dream. Your dream is to play professional football. Well, my town was so small that nobody ever thought about, you can dream just like every kid does. But when I finally made it there, and you dream about the NFL and being able to take care of mom and dad, and for me, making my 5 brothers proud of me, that was awesome. Never in a million years thinking Hall of Fame. And then as time goes on, you play well and you do well, the talk starts coming out, and there's nothing you can do about it. But it was, to go back from the previous question with Dan, the respect that you have and all the guys that you've grown up with, you played the game with, played the game against, I should say. The respect factor has always been there, especially between Dan and I, because we knew each other a lot longer before we were, good players in college football, and then of course the NFL, and then now with the Bills against the Dolphins year in and year out. I don't mean to change the subject a little bit, but to Dan, to Marino, this one, it's not like it used to be. I mean, when we were best friends off the field, but when we got on the field, we were, enemies to a certain point, but I just don't get the feeling of Bills against the Dolphins now like it used to be back in our day.
Did you guys, shake hands and hug after the game? Dan?
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Okay. All right.
That's my guy right there that you're talking. Jim Kelly's my man. I love him forever. And even when I was playing, if it wasn't like me, look, Jim Kelly for the Buffalo Bills was the most amazing thing that happened to them at the time, because we used to beat them up pretty good. And then they got Bruce Smith, they got Cornelius Bennett, they got Darryl Talley, and then Jim Kelly. And they took over, and they were a great football team, and prevented us actually from going to Super Bowl a couple times, because I felt we were good enough to go, but we couldn't beat those guys.
Yeah,
that's funny you say it, because it's interesting, because people always come up to me. A lot of people say, "You know what? I used to not like you." I go, "What? You're a Dolphin fan?" They go, "How did you know?" Because I met so many people, and I'm not going to name names, from the Dolphins organization that said, "Why did you do that to us? You ruined my check that I was going to get for playoffs." I go, "You weren't playing." "Yeah, the front office gets money too." I'm like, "Oh, sorry about that."
We're talking to Dan Marino and Jim Kelly. It's the Bills and the Dolphins coming up Sunday night. All right. Kelly just tried to avoid the sack there with the question, Dan. Let me ask you, what about a different shade? What about a different shade of jacket if you're first ballot Hall of Famer? Dion's talked about everybody's getting in. Too many people getting in. Your thoughts?
So personally, I trust in what the Hall of Fame is doing. I think if you get a gold jacket, you deserve to wear a gold jacket, no matter what anybody else thinks or whatever that is. It's a top of the chain as far as football is concerned, and everything that goes with it. To me, there should not be any distinction between a gold jacket.
Okay. That's fine.
10 years from now, or if you get in the first ballot, or if you get every vote, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't matter. It's awesome to get in and to be a part of that group. I have, like I said, about respect for Jim, respect for nothing but the greatest for all the Hall of Famers.
No.
Where are your jackets right now?
Mine's
in Florida.
Okay.
Mine's in Buffalo, in my closet, hanging up. We got a couple of jackets. Patrick, we got a couple of jackets now, because I know at least I grew out of mine, and then I grew into it, and then I grew out of it again. So they got a couple. As a matter of fact, last year they refitted us for new jackets. So we're going to be going on to the third jacket. But to make a long story short, what Dan was saying, I agree 100%. Gold jacket's a gold jacket. And I don't know many people that ever dreamt about being in the Hall of Fame, more so playing in the NFL, but to get into the Hall of Fame, when you walk into the room, at least when I did, you see guys like Joe Namath and Terry Bradshaw, Bob Greasy, all the guys you looked up to and admiring and idolizing. You see them in the room, then you see Deacon Jones and guys like that. You're like, wow, I'm a part of this now. It's there's nothing like it ever, and I'm just thankful to God that I was able to do it and be a part of guys and be friends like with Dan, which I consider one of the greatest players to ever play the game, on and off the field.
Dan Marino, Hall of Famer, and had a Super Bowl appearance with the Dolphins, 5-time passing leader, 9-time Pro Bowler. You know, that Pro Bowl doesn't sound as impressive as it used to be, where guys are getting in. It might be the 5th alternate. How many Pro Bowl? You're a 5-time Pro Bowler, Jim. So why do we? It feels like there should be that designation of those who got into the Pro Bowl this year, yesterday. Those are your Pro Bowlers, not the 5th quarterback who is going to be an alternate here. Where do you guys stand on that?
Is also, when we were getting in, they were only picking 2 quarterbacks early in our careers.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was hard to get into the Pro Bowl because a lot of guys played in them. Like Dan, I don't think Dan played hardly any. Did you play in any?
No, I played in 3 out of the 9.
9-time Pro Bowl, he played in 3.
You always had a little injury, Dan. You always had an injury.
I had postseason stuff I had to deal with, you know, and also there was a golf.
More importantly, all right, Dan, I'm going to have you assess Jim's quarterback for his team, and then Jim, you do the same for Dan's team. So you, Dan, look at Josh Allen, and what do you see?
Well, Josh Allen is, he's an amazing player because of what he brings to the table every day and every week, and he don't miss games, and he can run. He's physical, and he also can throw the ball, as well as anybody in the league. And you could tell that he loves to compete. He's tough, and he's for the Dolphins, and having to deal with him a lot is it's tough. It's hard, and we're gonna have our work cut out for us, the Dolphins, this week because of guy like Josh Allen and how he plays.
Jim, assess Tua Tagovailoa.
First of all, I think I could pronounce it, Tua Tagovailoa, correct?
I think Dan messed that up.
Oh, wait, I screwed that up?
I think you did, but that's okay.
Wait, it's not Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Jim just said. Now you corrected yourself.
Why are you starting with it? Why? No, this is what Marino does. Come on, don't double team me like this. That's not right. That's not. Yeah.
Well, I think
I got the Tua correct there. I got the Tua correct here. All right, Jim.
1 out of 2 ain't bad, Dan. You're doing good. But no, I think his accuracy is unbelievable. I think he's done a good job of getting the ball to the guys and letting them do the work, and that's why I tried always. I know my old cliche is take what they give you, because too many times I see people trying to go deep all the time, not just Josh, but other people. And I get it to a certain point. But Tom Brady lived on that little short crossing routes and give it to the receivers, let them run with it. And Tua's got 2 of the top receivers in Hill and, of course, Waddle. And I'm not sure if Waddle's playing or not or how healthy he is. But he's got all the ammunition around him to play well. And that's what you need. I mean, you had Duper and Clayton. I had Lofton and James Lofton and Andre Reed on my side. So we had great guys just like Tua has now. And I know the Bills have Diggs, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be a battle, and I can't wait to watch it.
Jim, when the Super Bowl was in Minneapolis, did you guys go to Prince's house?
Whose?
Prince, the singer.
No, I didn't. I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't remember. I remember something you brought up about that a long time ago, but no, I never did.
Okay. You went out other places. You just didn't go to Prince's.
Oh, we went out to, we went to have dinner and stuff like that. Yeah, we went to other places. But once, Friday rolled around, we were focused on what we had to do. Most of us. I can't say everybody, but bottom line is, we got jacked a lot by people saying, "Oh, you guys partied too much. You had too much fun." You know why? We won. When you win, you have fun. And Dan knows this. When you're a little superstitious, things like that happen. So It's one of those things you just have to do.
Wait a minute. You're saying you had to celebrate, you had to party because that was.
You have to party, Jim. You had to party.
When you're superstitious, you do what you did the week before that. If you're winning, you do the same thing. If you're losing, you try to change up what you did before. We tried that. We went from our first Super Bowl to our second Super Bowl, and then 2, 3, and 4. Every year we said, well, maybe if we do this and we change it up a little bit, we might win one. Unfortunately, it never worked.
Dan, did you have that same logic that whatever you did the previous week?
I kind of, you know what? I'm a little more boring than Jim was talking about. But I kind of did the same routine no matter what. So, but I would change up a little bit. But I wasn't that superstitious that I had to worry about how I got dressed and all the other things. It was more a certain routine that I was in. But those guys were such great players and all that. They could handle going out and partying and also playing well. Believe me.
Jim's the Tom Brady of beverages.
I used to be.
Okay.
I don't do that. I'm going through some other things going on, and I can't really have a. I'm here with Greg Chappelle. It's Dan's high school teammate. I'm down in Miami now, and we drank a bottle of wine last night, and I go, bro, this is not tasting as good as it usually does. So, but make a long story short, times change.
Oh my God! You'd walk into a bar.
He's got a lot of money. Drink all his expensive wine, please.
We already did. We broke a bunch of his Camus and all his.
Bring some to the game Sunday night. Have him bring some to the game.
You know I can't bring that into the stadium.
I think I can get you arranged.
I think you probably could too.
Jim, just give the wine to Marino. He can bring it in.
Exactly.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have to make sure that there's. I bring 3 bottles. I'll end up with 1. He'll drink 2 of them before he gets there.
Great to talk to you guys. Happy the friendship continues, and thanks for joining us. Have fun on Sunday night.
Dan, thank you.
Sounds good. Take care, Dan and Dan.
Love you guys.
Thank you, man. All right. Dan Marino, Jim Kelly. Been friends for a long, long time. You'd walk into a bar, you didn't want to see the Kelly brothers. If Jim was there and you saw his brothers, it's like, oh boy.